vagina.
I don't want to, dude. I'm trying to look.
I don't want to get hired on SNL, so this is fine.
Well, I do, man. I got my application in. Yeah, I said you got one potato and word out the door. How about trying out another one?
So, first off, if you think that he had a problem getting on SNL,
well, no, I'll be fine.
Yeah, how so?
Well, because they asked me when I went in there, and they were like, we don't want any more problems. We want to avoid any Shane Gillis situations.
Sounds good.
So I promised them that I've never said anything racist or homophobic in my life. Case closed.
But the case wasn't closed.
It's like, just don't Google me.
SNL had the statement today. Last night, after talking with Shane Gillis, we have decided that he will not be joining SNL. We want SNL to have a variety of voices, points of views within the show, and we hired Shane on the strength of his talent as a comedian and his impressive audition for SNL. We were not aware of his prior remarks that have surfaced over the past few days. The language he used is offensive, hurtful, and unacceptable. We are sorry that we did not see these clips earlier and that our vetting process was not up to our standards.
Up to this. Now,
has SNL ever watched SNL? No, I mean that seriously, because we're not even talking about like when Chevy Chase was on. We're talking about like 5 years ago. Like SNL hasn't watched episodes of SNL. They haven't.
Also, can I just point out, if I went in a coma in like 2015, 2016, and I came out of that coma, and I'm like, shit, I got to get into the show and do the show with Royce that I didn't start because I was in a coma, so it wouldn't make sense. But let's just say whatever. Come into work.
Well, first off, your legs would be atrophy, so please, more detail about the rehabilitation process.
Okay, so after a few months of doing the whole...
Yeah.
Honey, you got it! You got it!
You fall in love with your nurse?
Little wiggly legs. Oh, he was so close!
You fall in love with your nurse, you get married, and then you come back into work, finally, you walk in with a cane still.
Because it's been a while,
but you're getting there. But you got it. Like,
but people
Hank,
are going, you look good.
Like Hank after he got shot.
No, you're doing good.
So with the cane, you walk in.
And then, like, it's always like moments when people aren't looking, then I'm like, oh. And then they come back in, and I'm like, oh, fuck.
I'm ready to go. Let's play soccer.
So after all of that.
Thank you.
I come back, right, and I read this statement. I would be like, did Shane Gillis kill a guy in a bar fight? Did he rape a child? No, right? Like, I would go, like, but we're sorry we did not see these clips earlier. Our vetting process was not up to our standard. I'd be like, did they find a clip of Shane Gillis
you would think
slipping his dick in a sleeping baby's mouth? Like, what happened at some point that they're treating this like, whoa, dude, we are so sorry. We let this literal psychopath into the building. And it's like, what happened to this country?
You would think he drove a car into a crowd in Charlottesville. Like, no, that the way they're treating this.
Yeah, you think he would have drove a car into a crowd in Charlottesville, triggering some woman who was a heavy smoker and overweight to have a heart attack. You'd think that happened. But no, he just made fun of Ching Chong Chinaman.
So you can't do that anymore.
I can do whatever the fuck I want.
No, I mean, I'm saying
I can do whatever I want because I will never work for you people.
Comedian Shane Gillis fired from Saturday Night Live for racist remarks. Shane Gillis, the comedian who has been under fire over the past few days for using racist and homophobic slurs on his podcast, has been fired from Saturday Night Live. Gillis was one of the 3 cast members recently added to the show, which is set to begin its 45th season. But the comedian was canned on Monday before even making an appearance on the show. After talking with Shane Gillis, we decided, we already read that. The statement explained that Gillis' prior remarks were unknown to Lorne Michaels, who hired him. On the strength of his... So Lorne Michaels. Has Lorne Michaels ever watched one of his own shows? They used to do far more offensive jokes on this show. There was a cartoon on that TV Funhouse thing they used to do. There was a cartoon called The Ambiguously Gay Duo. Mm-hmm. The car was shaped like a penis.
Which was very funny, by the way.
No, it was. I used to love that. It was very funny.
That was, what's his face? Smigel.
Smigel, yeah.
Robert Smigel was one of the funniest weirdos on the planet. Remember, like, fucking Conan would always, like, need him. Whenever Conan was in a jam, he'd always reach out to Robert Smigel.
Yeah.
Because he's like, I'm burnt out. You got anything? And Smigel always came with something. He worked for The Simpsons. He worked for SNL.
Yeah.
Like, he was the man.
So
The ambiguously gay duo.
they used to have that. Somebody showed me a bit from 2014. We can't play it because NBC will pop it. But it was a bit of them from 2014 of them working at a Chinese fish factory where Fred Armisen was doing, oh, yes, a Chinese. He was doing that. Before Jay Farrow played Obama, Fred Armisen played Obama in literal blackface on that show. And now, all of a sudden, you fucking found a high horse to get on? Blows my mind.
Pretty bad, dude.
Like, this is SNL. SNL used to be the one that would push boundaries. Remember, like, Sinead O'Connor ripped a picture of the Pope up? Like, it used to be the place where people would make a statement, right? Where it would be like, I'm going to fucking, whether it be a joke or whether it be whatever, it used to be a place that, dude, some of the best laughs I had are with, like, classic SNL episodes.
Yeah.
As shitty as it's become now, and it's fucking horrendous now. And it goes to show you, this vetting process that you just saw, quote unquote, is going to stop that show from ever having a hope of being funny again, because Shane's a funny dude.
He is.
Like, you go watch his stand-up, Shane's a funny dude. He's you can't say he's not funny.
He's
right?
also, by all accounts, like a good dude. Like, he's not... Look, comedy is full of degenerates. Like, I could point out a million stories.
Name 5.
Did you really want me to?
It's like 2 in this room, Mike. Go ahead.
So they're full of really horrible people, and I mean, there's stories I can't even ever tell on the air of things I've seen personally.
Louis C.K. killed a guy.
Disgusting.
Mike was telling
with
me
his
off air.
penis.
With his weird.
He killed a scared female intern with his penis.
It was really bad. This is a true thing that we're saying.
There are things that I've seen and stories I've heard where they're horrible people. I've never heard a bad Shane Gillis story. I mean, I know he's not been around forever, but there is no. Everyone has like a certain behind the scenes, like people, like a point of view that people like have of that person, and I don't hear anything about Shane Gillis. I've never heard a Shane Gillis story. Like, bro, he just knocked out this dude at a pool hall for no fucking reason. Or like, oh man, he likes to jerk off in front of chicks. Like, nothing. Just a dude that, like, it's just a fucking really boring Irish guy that does comedy that just happens to be really funny. And of course, dude, he does Gas Digital. He does Legion of Skanks. He's part of that Legion of Skanks, Louie Jay Gomes sort of community, which those guys are still staying true to the old school, just like, friends hanging out and making fun of gooks and spics and Chinamen. Like, there is no, at no point is everybody like, man, we really need an ethno state, am I right?
No.
Now, let's go out and kill some of these people. Like, they're just breaking balls, and it's like, oh, today we're having the guy who's Chinese. There's going to be a lot of chink jokes today because we're going to break his dumb balls. I mean, how much stuff did they say about Voss being a bad Jew and a dumb, retarded Jew with tattoos? And, like, dude, Patrice and Louis C.K. on O&A used to say the most horrible shit to each other, and it was hilarious.
And it was horrible shit.
But they were, like, friends, and at no point was like, oh, my God, I'm so offended by what Louis said to me. He just laughed. Like,
that was some of the funniest, dude.
Could you imagine Louis doing that? You know where the N-word came from?
That is one of my all-time favorite bits. Was Louis? We've talked about it on the show before, but it's just because it's one of those things that it's easy to encapsulate what we used to be and what we were allowed to do, right? Like what the stuff that we could get away with when you're with your friends. Like you're right, Mike. They want to make it impossible for people who have sat around a table with their friends and fucked around to make it. Especially when it's Lorne Michaels, who the stories about Lorne Michaels, you want to talk about terrible degenerates in comedy? You want to talk about Lorne Michaels? You want to talk about that guy is feared more than anybody? Like, if you ever talk shit about Lorne, you were just blackballed in the industry, right? Like, that's... So now, because this guy was on a podcast and he made some jokes, he's not allowed to have his literal dream come true. Shane Gillis did tweet this. It feels ridiculous for comedians to be making serious public statements, but here we are. I'm a comedian who was funny enough to get on SNL. That can't be taken away. Of course I wanted the opportunity to prove myself on SNL, but I understand it would be too much of a distraction. I respect the decision they made. I'm honestly grateful for the opportunity. I always was a Mad TV guy anyway.
Good.
Which
here's my
good line.
Good
line.
Here's my problem with this, and I did a lot of yelling about this last night. But he started this week with his balls, and a brand new job at SNL. Pretty neat. They took that job from him. They weren't ever going to give him that job. They took that from him. The moment he was trending on Twitter, it was over for him. He was going to lose that job anyway. But they took the job from him, and he handed his balls to everybody.
This wasn't that bad. I don't think this was even an
Doesn't
apology.
It was. I'll apologize to anybody who wants. It was a half-ass one, but it was an attempt to be like, hey, look, man, I apologize to anybody I might have. Saying
I don't know, the way he worded it, though, at least the way I read it, I apologize to anybody that was actually offended, made it seem like nobody was offended.
It was still an apology.
I don't think, man, I don't know. I would say that at least the way I read it was...
Google Shane Gillis apologizes.
No, I get it.
So it's the narrative is now that he apologized.
But even that he did, they're pointing out it was a sarcastic apology. Like the story we read yesterday pointed out that it was a sarcastic apology.
I guess, but it feels like he was still sort of trying to quell it a little bit. It seems like he was offering some kind of mea culpa. It might not have been the best apology in the world, but it was kind of an apology.
I guess. I read it differently. I guess agree to disagree on that one because I read it differently.
He was trying to still be funny about it, which I think muddies the waters. But it was still an attempt at some sort of an apology. Even saying I'll apologize to anybody who was really actually offended is. I get that it comes off like a little bit like he's standoffish, but he's also legit saying I'll apologize to anybody who's offended at the end of the day. And that's
the quote is I'm happy to apologize to anyone who was actually offended by anything I've said. My intention is never to hurt anyone, but I'm trying to be the best comedian I can be, and sometimes that requires risk.
That's all an apology right there. That's all an apology right there. And he didn't have to do it. He could have at least started the week off by going, yeah, but I told him I wasn't sorry. Fuck him.
Right.
Let's go back to the. He shouldn't have done any sort of thing that even appeared like an apology because they were going to fire his ass anyway. He should have just been like, what do you want from me? He should one go doggone one way, the other one going the other. What do you want from me? And just go back to fucking Gas Digital and collect money because he'll make money now. The one who's going to come off fucking gangbusters from this is Louie Jay Gomes. He's going to benefit from this more than anybody.
Right. Anybody that watches SNL now and that says it's funny, and there's a lot, and this is true, because a lot of people think oh, it's just boomers that are saying we're boycotting SNL. You talk to a lot of normies and you'd be like, hey, do you watch SNL? No, that's just terrible now. Because you're talking about people that even grew up watching. You're not talking about people that like us, oh man, when you remember it used to be funny when Norm was on and shit. You're talking about people that grew up with Will Ferrell, with Will Ferrell on SNL, fucking guy ended up becoming a megastar. You're talking about people that's not allowed anymore. You're not talking about, Richard Pryor saying the N-word in that interview with Chevy Chase. Remember that whole skit on SNL?
Oh, yeah. Well, that was like...
But that's what they used to do. It used to actually be legit social commentary, right? It used to make sense. Watch the Richard Pryor and Chevy Chase thing. That thing's fucking hilarious. It's one of the funniest skits SNL's ever done. And it used to be pushing boundaries and whatever. And now because a guy made a Chinese... Fucking Jim Belushi used to dress up like a samurai. You know what I mean?
Oh, man, remember that?
No, but you could go down the list. You could go down the list.
But that's even way back. But you could go back if you just started looking a little bit from the 90s and even a couple of years ago. You're going to find that they were just as much casting a net out there for comedy and jokes and trying to get what they could. And sometimes you do some stuff. Sometimes you make fun of Ching Chong Chinaman.
And gay funny. People. Somebody brought up Schmidt's gay beer. Remember that commercial? The beer for gay guys. It was Chris Farley and all. And nobody got pissed off. It was fine. There was no way. You're right. You could, up until I think 5 years ago, you could pretty much find something that they wouldn't be allowed now. And that's the truth, this weird little vocal minority, because most people don't care, right? Most normal people, you talk to them, because a lot of people like to frame it fucking snowflake leftist, but it's not even just, most normie liberals wouldn't care about this. I've sat at a table with a dude who wants to fucking vote for Bernie. I've sat at a fucking table with a hardcore Trump guy. I've sat in the same table, and we've been able to joke, and we've all said horrendous things. This cancel culture is phony. It's not a real thing. It's not something everyday people care about.
Yeah.
Nobody cares.
But unfortunately now, it's an easy way to get clicks.
Mm-hmm.
It's an easy way to get fucking people, new followers on Twitter, and it's an easy way to make money. It's an industry now. I mean, you understand, he got hired at SNL. He didn't do anything. Keep in mind that Shane Gillis didn't do anything. All he did, right, was get announced as a new cast member on SNL, along with, like, some gay person and a person of color. That's what it was. And then this white guy.
Right.
And a bunch of people went, what has this white guy done before? And it's become a culture now for people to go, what has he been on? And they just... Dude, people were saying in Twitter, people were pointing it out, there were people saying that they were sitting there listening to everything he's ever done and writing things down because it was research.
Oh, of course.
The minute it was, in fact, let me just see, who is, I want to see who the...
So,
I got to see who the new cast members were because he was the only white guy.
An Asian guy.
He was an Asian guy and some females, I don't know, it was a woman of color. Mm-hmm. So that's what they saw. They saw that, and they went, who's this guy?
Boom.
And they just went back and found gas digital stuff of them joking around, and they sent it off to a Joe Bernstein type. It wasn't Joe Bernstein this time, but a Joe Bernstein type, and went, look at this. Can we get this going? And, of course, they know, oh, my God, we're going to trend. And it works because they trended it with a number. Shane Gillis was the number one trend the other day for no fucking reason other than cancel culture because white men are canceled. But they're going to keep telling you that there is no war on white males. It's not white males they're trying to take down. But was there a takedown attempt on the other two?
Of course not. Now, Patton Oswalt, remember, we talked about it yesterday, the guy who was partly, look, I don't want to overstate his pull because Patton Oswalt's pull's not that huge, but he was a very tiny part of Shane Gillis getting fired, right? Because he was up there trending too because of his stupid thing, his thing, and he had legit verified like comedians shitting on him yesterday, other comics, and that never happens. Like comics, for the most part, always stand up for each other, but now you have comics who are taking part in this cancel culture thing, right? So he was upset with a super edgy joke because, be making fun of Asians. We played the video yesterday, of course, the transvestite thing. Somebody actually with decent amount of following who was trying to get Shane Gillis fired came back and says, defending Patton Oswalt, going, transvestites, those aren't trans people, okay? So he wasn't even being...
Yeah, guys, transvestites are dudes in dresses.
When you look at GLAAD, if you go to actual GLAAD's website, they say transvestite is a derogatory term. Outdated and I know, but I'm saying it is. But this person was saying, so Patton Oswalt, it wasn't hate speech, okay? And calling people clowns, why is that a bad thing? I go, all right, first off, historically, when you call somebody a clown, unless you are actually a clown, and even if you are sometimes...
Calling somebody a clown in the right context might get you smacked in your mouth, right? Like,
yeah,
you know what I mean? Like, if somebody went, yeah, now dance, clown, you might smack that person in their mouth. Talking to you that way.
So Patton was talking about that. Somebody pulled up a tweet. Mike, they had to go into the archives from this one. It was when the long ago in 2013.
Remember that? Remember the long ago?
I remember the long ago. Patton Oswalt said, San Francisco news station KTVU has announced hiring PR spokeswoman We So Sorry.
Get it.
To address the Asian Airlines on-air gaffe.
By the way, we can all agree, right, that Patton Oswalt should be flung from a helicopter for that joke, not because it's offensive.
It's just a bad joke.
It's offensive to comedy.
Yeah,
he was a funny guy at one point.
Agreed.
Patton can understand that joke is even 6 years ago. He shouldn't have been that unfunny. You know what I mean?
Yeah. So, wouldn't this be considered? Patton.
Well, you also said too that Patton wasn't really a big part of getting Shane.
No,
Gillis
I said
fired.
a small part.
He was a very small part, but
yes.
I would even go so far as to say anybody with his stature in comedy who didn't come out and outright defend him
is part of the problem.
Is a big part of a bigger part of the problem than just I just made one tweet. No, any tweet that wasn't you need to leave this guy the fuck alone was a bad move. I don't know what happened. You say it all the time. They just shut the door behind him. Like, I got millions now. I just want to keep my rules. I don't give a shit about you.
They don't care. You know who Who's the one that you know who came to Chappelle's defense just recently? Sarah Silverman. Which she's trying to do, and I've saw this happening. This is what's happened because Sarah Silverman came back and says, you know, comedians push boundaries. What Chappelle did was perfectly fine. And I'm like, hold on, Sarah. You were virtue signaling queen for a while. We've talked about it on this very show on how you were saying, oh, that's not good or that's not bad. But see, what happened was some of these comedians got a gut check with Chappelle where they go, wow, we threw everything at him and it didn't stop him. So now they're trying Patton Oswalt I dislike. Sarah Silverman I hate more because now she's trying to win her cred back. Like, you know what I mean? Like, get her street cred back. Like, and it's not work. It's too late. Sarah, you picked a side now. You can't come back and be like, what Chappelle did was comedy. When you sat there silently while a whole bunch of other people lost their jobs, lost their livelihoods, called people Nazis because of stuff that. Remember when Sarah Silverman took a picture of one of those cable signs?
Thought it was a Nazi
and
symbol,
thought it was a swastika?
But it was because when the city comes and spray paints to say we've inspected this. That's what that is. It's a. All right, we move this. Go to the next one. And then that way, when the other crew comes by, they're like, they already looked at that, and she thought it was a swastika. I remember that. Oh God.
So you don't get to come back now and get your cred back. What would happen? I think what's happening, like what happened, like I said, with Chappelle's special, and even with a lot of valid criticisms of Bill Burr, but even in Bill Burr's new special, which was funny. I can't say it wasn't funny because that would be lying. To a lesser extent in Bill Burr, because Bill Burr went pretty hard on feminism. I think a lot of these guys are looking at it and going, did I sell my soul and got nothing out of it? Like, that's what's happening. Like, a lot of these comics are selling their souls and they're getting nothing in return. At least if you're going to fucking sell your soul, get something out of it, you're getting nothing. You're not going to sell more tickets,
Why do you think Bill Maher, who I detest as a person, he's disgusted by his own people?
Oh yeah,
and he's vocal about it. And I mean, he's always the first one when people go, "That's it, fire Shane Gillis." He's always just like, "Oh, what a bunch of faggots!" Like, it's embarrassing. Like, because Bill Maher has always been a free speech guy because he got deep dicked back during 9/11. He got fucked over so bad during 9/11. Mm-hmm. He never forgot that fucking media dick up his ass. He never forgot that. He never forgot 9/11 either. So when this shit happens, now Bill Maher's always like, "Hey, let's fucking." I've had my words twisted before and weaponized against me. I'm not falling for this shit. So you got to be a real.
I believe he stood up for Roseanne too. Like he stands up for. He'll stand
and
up for comics.
And he won't stand up for what they say.
No.
He'll be like, "That was disgusting." But what are we doing here? Like this is ridiculous. And I mean, we've done that before, where we go, "This is disgusting." But come on, what are we doing here? We're just gonna kick out. We're gonna throw the baby out with the bathwater. We're just gonna get rid of all speech, as opposed to sometimes just living with the fact that you have to just be uncomfortable. Fucking deal with that shit. I have to look at the fucking drag queen babies and they're dressing up Down syndrome people like fucking trannies now. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I gotta live with that. No,
that was just Blair White.
I gotta live with that. I gotta see extreme love and there's like fucking, hi, I'm fucking a 10-year-old drag queen and I'm gonna go out with a Down syndrome trans person who's 27 and it's all okay. And it's like, okay, you know what? If I got like, I'd rather not live with that. If we're going to get rid of everything, let's get rid of that. But if I can't get rid of that, whatever, I got to live with that. You got to live with Shane Gillis going, "Oh, ho, ho, I'm a Chinaman. Oh, hello, I eat a dog." Like, that's life. That's life. You're going to have to deal with him calling Andrew Yang a Jew chink, which is funny.
It is funny. There's nothing wrong with saying that.
And, of course, that idiot's now, Yang, you should have
defended him, right?
And he's not.
And he's not, and he should have. He should have. He would have defended him. It would have helped him a lot.
He wanted his Obama beer moment. Remember that? Remember when Obama had the beer? The two guys, two regular Americans that weren't getting along. We're going to talk about racial stuff in America. I'm going to roll up my sleeves. I'm going to drink a beer, even though I would never touch that stuff. Like, it's just one of those things. And remember, Obama created the beer moment. Well, I'm going to have a beer with him. And Yang and now all these people always want to Crenshaw. It's become it's become a new playbook. It's like something that Belichick started doing a couple years ago with the Patriots, but now so many teams have copied it It's not even
cheating.
It's worthless. Just steal it. Just taping the other team.
Yeah.
But yeah, like that's
how does he do it? He cheats.
But then,
he's a cheater.
No, that's great. That would be the greatest answer. How do they do it every year? They're cheaters.
Yeah, they're well-known cheaters.
I thought you knew that.
Yeah. They had a racist. They had a accused rapist running running routes this week and scoring touchdowns.
How do you think I got season tickets at Lambeau? You know how hard that is? I just told the people in charge of the team that the guy who used to hold this seat said the N-word once. And now here I am.
You know what's fun about making fun of the Patriots? Everybody loves it except for like 4 states. But besides that, like 46 other states enjoy when people.
Nobody gives a shit about Maine, Massachusetts, New Hampshire, and Vermont.
Who gives a shit?
And the northern shore of Long Island. Because
for some reason.
No. Here's why. Because they used to have when it was syndication TV and it was radio was the only thing you could really get.
Okay.
Northern Long Island was getting their signals from Massachusetts TV stations. So like South Shore and all that stuff, we'd be getting New York, New Jersey, and they'd be getting Massachusetts. So over generations, there's people in Long Island that are like, "Go Patriots," and you're like, "You're fucking disgusting,
you piece of shit."
No, it really is. It's like when you go to like Omaha, Nebraska, and you see like this Vietnamese family, and they're like, "No, but they've been here since the turn of the century. They're now legit people from."
But what would that family sound like, Mike?
They would literally sound like JD in our voice chat.
Oh.
Oh, don't you know?
Oh,
yeah.
okay.
But they just look like Andrew Yang. Oh, yeah, you got to go to the cheese place, the dairy place. They make fresh cheese over there,
You're a super lady.
I expected you to be a little more, I don't know, Chinaman sounding. We're only making fun of Asians now.
But that's only because... that's the last bastion we had.
We're going to take
That's all the comedy we had, Karen.
That's all the hack Asian comedy we had, Karen.
That's the only race we can make fun of, Karen. They're better than us.
They said they were going to fire you for pulling your eyes back.
They weren't going to find, man. They weren't going to find the clips.
Yeah, they, but, even if you agree or disagree with me or Royce that it was an apology or it wasn't an apology, what did Dave Chappelle say in response to all the controversy?
What do you mean? Literally nothing. When I say nothing,
that's
nothing.
That's what I mean with Shane Gillis. Whether he meant as an apology,
he should have said, "I agree." He
should have just been like, "Hey, you know what? I don't know what to tell you, man."
If I was him, I wouldn't even have done that. I would have just plugged my stand-up gig. That's because everyone's waiting for it.
Well, I already said he should. His next comedy tour needs to be him with the rice hat and the fucking thick Coke bottle glasses and the buck teeth. That needs to be his comedy flyer. Shane Gillis Comedy Tour. Just him eating a dog with chopsticks.
Everything when he comes up on stage, dun 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 dun.
Camera around his neck, right? Camera around his neck, eating a dog with chopsticks.
That sounds perfect.
Just every racial while riding a rickshaw. Mm-hmm. Like that should be the comedy flyer, and they should go, "What is he doing? He's tripling down." Fuck you. And all his stops should be like San Francisco, San Diego, just all fucking West
Vancouver.
Coast. Vancouver, anywhere there's a high Asian population. Atlantic City.
But the funny part is, because, yesterday we said, like, Asians don't really get offended by this. I mean, they don't. And somebody commented, Asians don't get offended by it? And I replied, and then I go, yeah, I'm sorry, let me fix that. Cool Asians don't care. Like, no, seriously, like, that's a group you don't really see Asians out there kvetching like everybody else. They're like, yeah, okay, that's cool. I need to go be smarter than everybody and go play piano and the violin. Like, it doesn't matter to me. Like, Asians don't complain. They don't sit there and whine. Sure, I'm sure there's a couple fucking stupid ones, right, that are complaining. But for the most part, the people that were offended by this were white women, like you said yesterday.
It's always white women.
It was white women, and Patton Oswalt, which basically is a white woman.
White women working on behalf of, well, people who write their paychecks. Let's just say that. Mm-hmm. There are people that write paychecks, and they use shrill white women as their foot soldiers. Because let's be honest, we've been conditioned over several generations to just go, all right, right? Like, am I wrong? We our whole lives, it's become just, happy wife, happy life, right? But, like, we've applied that now to just white women in general, like, until you go, all right, fuck, Because guys won't do that. Guys will never shriek until they get what they want. They'd be like, "Hey, I'd like this, please. Oh, hey, this isn't how I ordered it. Excuse, you're gonna just fuck it. I'll just eat it." Like that's how guys are. Women are.
You know, it's funny because when this stuff happens, like this over the years, there's certain things that are cyclical, right? There's sometimes when when shit happens and there'll be like 4 or 5 years where it gets PC, but then after that it just goes the other way back. This is the first time I'm going to say I don't think we're going back. Like I don't see where we're going to turn it around. I don't think there's going to be another comedy renaissance because it's not about people getting offended. It's not. It's in the past people would get offended for a while and it would come back. But Mike, I think you fucking hit the nail on the head. It's an industry now. You know what I mean? It's a profitable industry. It's people have made their careers about complaining and getting other people fired,
So you don't think we're going to fix it?
The Sean Kings of the world, you know what I mean? People like that they've made their entire life about being... No, I don't think we're going to fix it. I don't think it's going to come back around.
You don't think we're going to... Don't need money, don't need fame. We're not going to just go back and do hoverboards and fix it? No. We're just fucked?
I don't think so. This shit used to be cyclical, right? I mean, even South Park a few years ago made a joke. It's like, how long were we offended last time? About 5 years. It'll come, but I don't think it's going to come back. I don't think it's... I think that we're off the edge now. We are in fucking free fall. And I don't think that we're going to ever have another Carlin or another Pryor or another fucking Louie or another Patrice and that's what bums me out is that we're gonna squash people that were legends. Like the small minority online has given people like Nanette's new special have given her like 90% audience or critic reviews. They're and anybody who tries to do anything different, they do what they did to Chappelle and his fucking Rotten Tomatoes. Like I don't. How is it going to come back? You can't be on Google. You can't be on. Where are you going to even grow? Where do you go?
I think it'll whatever it is. This is the argument of human intervention. Something will spring again underground. I don't know where that underground will be. I don't know who will create it. I don't know if it'll be on the internet or if it'll be a brick and mortar thing. But look, stand-up comedy itself started in cabarets and Negro clubs where, you know what I mean? It was like a third
Foot
rate.
Locker?
It was considered back then, like the turn of the century, like this third rate sort of vaudevillian. Like there was no Broadway. There was no stand-up comedy stars. It was a rebellion against what was at the time sort of like religious puritanical oppression, which now it's sort of a non-religious oppression that's happening. It's like a secularized oppression. But there will always be like the mainstream, you won't do this. And there's always going to be people doing that. And then generally something will spring from underground. I mean, this is why I give credit to Gas Digital. I give credit to Louie Jay Gomes. I give credit to a lot of people out there. I look at like, Pot Awful or Red Bar or any of these other shows. There are plenty of people at Dick Masterson. There are so many people out there who are still trying to do something. And they're not like, I think that there will always be people who are creative, who are funny, and who are just like, yeah, that sounds pretty gay. I don't want to do that. I'll just fucking figure. Like, there will always be, like, even with us, there's always a need to go, all right, how much is it going to cost me to just have my own thing over here? Okay, I'll do that. I'll pay that option. I don't want to do what you're telling me. It all sounds very gay to me. And it happened, again, with the... when you look at like Rudy Ray Moore and you look at like some of those like really edgy acts back then, and like Lenny Bruce, who by the way was never really good.
He wasn't funny. He was just doing stuff that other people weren't doing.
But it's these things that come along and rebel against whatever the fucking status quo is. So just because it's not religious based anymore, it's now more of a secular, creepy kind of lefty thing. There will be a research. Like, we always want to rebel against and tear down whatever the status quo is. There's just people have a desire to do that. So it'll circle back around, I think. Hey, if I'm wrong, fuck it. I'll see you in the gulags.
MTM says stand-up comedy's stupid. Even if you don't like stand-up comedy, you have to understand, like, stand-up comedy those are the people that end up writing movies and writing you know what I mean? Like it's not just about stand-up comedy, right? It's about everything in general. Like YouTube, you can't do it on YouTube because of stuff he did on YouTube or online. He got axed. You know, I know a lot of people saying, "Oh, they did him a favor. SNL's stupid anyway." You're right. SNL is stupid, but the point isn't about whether you think SNL is stupid or not. It's about that we now are in a weird system that is so particular that you're not. Everything you do in your life is now out there, but you're not allowed to have made any mistakes. And it's like a weird zero-sum game, you know? Like, you have to make mistakes to grow, right? Like, you have to fuck up. You have to tell a bad joke. You have to go, oh, fuck, that was stupid. You can't do any of that stuff now. You have to be whatever they deem perfect, whether it be like an Indian stand-up comedian, which we're going to play here in a second. Like, it's a really weird system that we've made, and I don't really know a way out of it.